ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It is Hoist the Colors, Thursday, May 29th. We are 24 hours away on the dot from first pitch. East Carolina, Florida, in the Conway Regional. It's hard to believe this week has already flown by, and we are almost to postseason baseball, NCAA postseason baseball play this time around. Of course, the Pirates winning the first leg of the postseason in the American Athletic Conference tournament last week to punch their ticket to the Conway Regional. Today, we're going to get an inside look at a couple of the teams in the field of the Conway Regional. We'll talk with Graham Hall of Swamp 24/7. Part of the Florida Gators site on the 24/7 Sports Network, which is also home to hoistthecolors.net. And then we'll talk to Alan Blondin, who covers Coastal Carolina All Sports Chanticleers for My Ori News in the Myrtle Beach area. So excited that we have some big postseason baseball on tap. We are going to get to those interviews here shortly. We'll open the show today with Philip Pilkington, who is back in the 94.3 The Game studios, just talking about our general thoughts. Look, we've broken this thing down just about every way. We had the Carolina Curveball crew on Wednesday's edition, went through all the teams. We still have to make our championship picks, which we'll do at the end of this show, because there, of course, will be no show tomorrow with the game. But, Philip, I'm jacked up, man. I'll be heading to Conway 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Not as excited about the early wake-up call, but I'm ready for some postseason baseball.
Early wake-up call. Come on, Igo. You got two kids. You get an early wake-up call every morning. It's going to be a normal day in the Igo household tomorrow when that alarm goes off. But, no, I'm excited as well. You know, I think as a country we don't get as excited for tomorrow as we maybe do the first day of the NCAA basketball tournament. But I do want to remind everybody that this is Thursday and Friday all put into one day. All 64 teams will be in action tomorrow. It makes it a lot of fun, but it does make it a little tougher to keep up with. I wouldn't even be opposed to them splitting it into 2 days the way they do with basketball, because sometimes when there's 8 or 9 games on, it's really hard to kind of keep up with every game that you want to keep up with.
And it'll be pretty cool that I believe East Carolina will be East Carolina, Florida on ESPN2 will be one of the first games people can watch, especially on national television, to begin regional weekend play. So, look, a big spotlight. And we know now the official announcement, Ethan Norby will be on the mound for East Carolina, Liam Peterson going for Florida. When we do talk to Graham Hall from Swamp 24/7, that was recorded yesterday, we talked about the possibility, Liam Peterson would be on the mound. He'll get into that, kind of brings up what he brings to the table. But Peterson, hard-throwing righty, wipeout slider, ton of strikeouts, hasn't pitched deep into games this year. I think 6 innings is max. He did strike out 13 against Arkansas in 6 innings back, I think, on April 25th. So big-time stuff. He's a projected first-round pick in next year's draft. So, look, fastball up to 97, 98. It's going to be a tall challenge for the Pirate Bats. But you got Norby on the mound. We know what that brings to the table as far as just his ability to keep ECU in games. So as we open the show, Philip, in terms of how ECU wins this regional, I think we both agree, more so than ever, it's important it's obviously always important to win the first 2 games to set yourself up. But if you're the 3 seed and you're up against it as far as having to, already face some difficult obstacles, I think it's paramount. You got to win the first 2 if you got a shot to win it. And I give ECU a puncher's chance against Florida. I've already said I think they find a way to win this game. Just have a gut feel them. But your thoughts on ECU's path to a potential regional title in Conway? How does it happen?
It happens the same way that the American Athletic Conference Championship happened, and that's you never getting behind the 8 ball with your staff. Now, one of the big ways you don't get behind the 8 ball, like you said, is you do go 2-0 in those first 2 games. But even if you find yourself at some point losing a baseball game, you need to lose a game 2-1. And I know that sounds crazy. It's not that I want the bats to go out there and get cold, but there's only 6, 7, maybe 8 guys you trust right now to throw the baseball. And I think if you get into a situation where you're using guys outside of those top few arms, you don't feel very good about it. You need to find a way to, if you play 4 max in this entire thing, but preferably keep it down to 3, you still need to keep it like they were able to do it last week with 4. Of course, that first game was Tuesday, not Friday. But like I said, staying ahead of the 8 ball when it comes to those pitchers, because if you get behind it, I think there's some deep staffs, both with Coastal and with Florida, that could really hurt you on Monday.
The free passes in the air, ECU's got to stay away from those as well. Look, Florida has 88 home runs as a team. That is something East Carolina cannot afford to walk a couple guys and give up a 3-run bomb. Norby has given up 11. The other thing with Peterson, he's given up 9 home runs. He's given up multi-home runs in 4 separate games as well. So he can be prone to the long ball. We know Conway, that the stadium at Coastal Carolina plays small. So who is going to make the big mistake? Who's going to make that error? Who's going to issue that walk that leads to multiple guys on base when somebody runs into one? If you give up a solo home run, that's fine. You can come back from that usually. But you don't want to give up the 3-run bomb. That can change a game. So I think that's a big key for East Carolina as well. And then, if you find a way to win the first game, you got all momentum going into the rest of the weekend. So we'll get more into that towards the end of the show. We are going to take a break. I don't want to give a shout-out. We will have coverage of the J.H. Rose State Championship Series on 94.3 The Game, 5 p.m. on Friday, scheduled right now for 11 a.m. on Saturday as well on 94.3 The Game. Obviously, if ECU were to lose the Friday game, then we would move the J.H. Rose game to 103.7 WTIB and have ECU baseball at 12 noon on Saturday. So keep that in mind. But right now, scheduled for 94.3 The Game, J.H. Rose against North Lincoln. Brought to you by, shout out to these following sponsors: the Gavigan Agency, First Bank, the law firm of Hardy, Massey, and Blodgett, Caraway Office Solutions, Wells Fargo Advisors in Greenville, the Tire Realty Group, Greenville Awning and Canopy, Orthopedics East and Sports Medicine and Pitt County Schools, and Croft Massey and Nate Logan will be on the call on 94.3 The Game, or as I said, 103.7 Saturday if necessary. But 5 p.m. on Friday, 11 a.m. Saturday for Rose versus North Lincoln. All right, we'll get a break in. When we come back, we've got Graham Hall from Swamp 24/7 to break down the Florida Gators on the other side.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed, meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Are you ready to tackle those yard and garden projects? Come by East Carolina Tractor and Fleet, your local Coyote dealer, and check out their great selection of residential and commercial Coyote tractors. From zero-turn mowers to compact tractors to skid steer loaders, they've got you covered. Some with 0% financing for qualified buyers. Stop by your hometown Coyote dealer, East Carolina Tractor and Fleet, across from the Pitt County Fairgrounds, or online at ectfleet.com. East Carolina Tractor and Fleet. We dig dirt.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
At Parker's Barbecue, our family has been serving your family for 3 generations.
For that, we say thank you.
Blessing families every Thursday. Kids eat free all day. That's the Parker's way.
Legendary food served from our 3 locations. Always quick, always delicious. That's the Parker's way.
At Parker's, our mission is to impact our customers through Christ-like service in a way that feeds them both physically and spiritually. That is the Parker's way.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
Climb aboard as we set sail and hoist the colors.
matey!
Back to the show with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back into Hoist the Colors. We are a little under 24 hours out from first pitch on this Thursday edition of the show, getting ready for the Conway Regional at Coastal Carolina. And the first game of the day will be East Carolina versus Florida, 12 noon on ESPN2. Let's learn more about the Florida Gators. We're going to speak with Graham Hall from Swamp 24/7. He covers Florida, all things Florida, for 24/7 Sports. And Graham, tell you what, you guys have had a busy time with the basketball national championship run, and obviously football is always important there. So first off, thanks for joining us. But I'm always curious, like for a school like Florida, where does baseball, which clearly has a great tradition as well, kind of fall with the fan base as you get ready for the postseason? Like, what's kind of the excitement level like in Gainesville?
Well, absolutely. It's one of the top sports that fans care about. I would say in recent years, you could have said that it was the number 2 most interesting sport in Gainesville with, basketball and football battling it out and some lower than normal results for both of those programs kind of leading to a damper in excitement. And baseball has just been an absolute juggernaut under Kevin O'Sullivan. It kind of is, you take for granted how good he has been in his, 17 years now in Gainesville. They haven't missed the postseason in nearly 2 decades since he's been here. And that certainly has led to a lot of excitement and some very, very high expectations. And this year started out with them. If you remember, Florida was ranked as high as, I believe, number 2 in the country in some preseason polls. This coaching staff felt like they had brought in a lot of talented transfers and had some really promising freshmen coming in, and just injuries certainly dampened the excitement. I actually remarked to some people that the low point for the season for the Gators coincided with Florida basketball's run to the national championship. So maybe fans were a little bit more, appeased in the sense watching this other team go on this miraculous run while Florida was looking like they were going to miss the postseason for the first time in the Kevin O'Sullivan era when they were 1-11 in SEC play. And then basketball ends with that national title over Houston and San Antonio, and Florida baseball ever since has been just on an upswing despite all these injuries. It's been an exciting time in Gainesville and a season that hasn't really gone as expected, but here is Florida once again back in the postseason.
And you mentioned some of the up and down with the injuries, and I know Colby Shelton, the star infielder, is questionable. He's missed some time with a hand injury, and then the injury to catcher, I believe Luke Heyman, happened recently. So how beat up is this Florida team, and are they going to get anybody back for the regional from what you're hearing?
Yeah, it's been one unfortunate circumstance after another. They've lost a couple, left-handed pitchers as well, and they lost their leadoff guy early in the season. Kyle Jones, a transfer who came in from Stetson, was just a really reliable hitter for Florida there in that leadoff spot, but just was dealing with a shoulder injury that never got right, and he got shut down for the season. They lost one of their starting pitchers as well early into the year after 2 starts, and Pierce Coppola, a guy who really had missed the previous 2 years due to injury, works his way back and looked really, really good from the start of the season, but ends up getting shut down for 2 months. He returned in the first week of May and has got right back to where he was. I mean, I thought he was fantastic his last time out 2 weeks ago when he faced Alabama. I think he struck out 8, didn't walk anyone, only allowed 3 hits. I mean, that's the guy that getting him back is a huge boost for Florida. But as you noted, there are definitely some guys that the Gators are going to be without, not just Jones, but, Cade Curlin is a guy who was instrumental to Florida last year, and you lose him for the season. That's a tough blow. A guy who's respected in the dugout and unable to go for the rest of the year is certainly a blow to Florida. And then you look at the injury to Luke Heyman, I mean, I think you could make a case that Luke Heyman was one of the best catchers in college baseball. Just the power that he had, no one wanted to try and steal on that guy. I mean, he just was fantastic all year long, and then just, takes a pitch to the hand, ends up breaking his forearm, I believe it was, and, wrist, forearm area in there, and just shut down for the rest of the season. That's a huge blow for Florida. They've had so many injuries that there was a time a couple weeks ago where we were talking about, maybe an equipment guy warming up in the dugout there, to have to maybe play, in the outfield if one more injury were to recur. You send a pitcher out there to be out in the outfield if something were to happen. So that's where Florida was at. Fortunately for the Gators, is that they're going to get a little bit healthier when NCAA regional play begins Friday at noon. Colby Shelton dealing with a hamate bone fracture. There was some initial optimism when he suffered that injury nearly 4 weeks ago that he would be back by the SEC tournament. That proved to not be the case as the Gators were one and done, fell to Ole Miss there. Now I'm much more optimistic he's going to be ready to go. And if that's the case, you get your starting shortstop back, a guy who's just been respected on the team and hadn't missed a game since he transferred to Florida nearly 2 years ago before this injury. If they get him back, that is absolutely a boost to this Florida offense that has just been really fantastic. Sometimes they've had some lulls, but what team doesn't have those, right? And you think in this ballpark, it's really going to set up favorably for a team that has hit nearly 90 home runs coming into this game and steals a lot of bases. I mean, they are a team that, despite the injuries, has just found a way to consistently still have a lot of firepower in the lineup. So if they get Shelton back, that's the big injury that everyone is watching for to see if he's available to take the diamond against East Carolina on Friday.
Risen with Graham Hall of Swamp 24/7. Check them out. It's the Florida Gators 24/7 sports site, just like Hoist the Colors, the ECU representative of 24/7 Sports. All right, Graham, so on the mound, no official announcement at this time from East Carolina, but as long as Ethan Norby's healthy, you would assume he goes for the Pirates. He's their standout left-handed pitcher. Really been the most consistent guy outside of a few bullpen arms this year. How about Florida? Who do you feel like they will get the call in game one? I know they've got a few good starters in particular who look like they are capable. Any direction they're leaning at this point from what you're hearing?
Yeah, there was a little shuffling the past couple of weeks due to some unfortunate weather causing a change in Florida's pitching rotation. You saw Liam Peterson not take his typical Friday start, but I think they're going to return to having Peterson be the guy on Friday for Florida. That is a guy who has just been fantastic, one of the best pitchers in the SEC this season here. Unfortunately, like I said, he didn't really have his full outings the last couple of weeks, so you should think that this is a guy who's well-rested and is ready to take the mound on Friday against East Carolina. And I think that for him, just as fantastic as he has been, that's a guy who a couple of times this year, he struck out double-digit guys. He tied his career high in strikeouts earlier in the year and then broke it. We saw him throw, I think, 114 pitches in an outing earlier this season. So someone who can get you at least through the sixth into the seventh here, that's someone that you really need to, when you're a team like Florida that has been dealing with as many injuries as they have, you need someone to be able to give you a quality outing and not be pulled by the third or fourth inning. So that's who I expect to be out there on Friday. And then I would expect Aiden King, who has been just an absolute monster as a freshman for Florida, has won the SEC Freshman Pitcher of the Week award 4 times this season. He has looked really, really good this entire season long. I would expect him to be the guy to go on Saturday, just knowing how critical it is, especially if Florida suffers a disappointment, I guess I'll call it that, against East Carolina on Friday. You turn to a freshman in that situation could seem a little bit daunting, but you look at just how King has fared. I mean, a guy who struck out 8 against Alabama 2 weeks ago, he has allowed, I think, more hits than he would like, and, has walked a couple guys every single one of his outings in recent memory here. He's walked someone, or at least a couple batters. So that's something that, making sure that he starts strong. You saw him a couple weeks ago. He walked the first 2 batters he faced and then settled in and didn't allow a hit for the next 3 innings. And this has been a really quality guy out of Jacksonville for Florida all season long, but this is his first experience in the postseason here. So I would expect him to be the Saturday guy. And then for Florida, it's going to be Pierce Coppola who's going to be there in that third game for them, because that's someone who, has worked his way back and has looked really good and has benefited from the additional rest as well over the last 2 weeks.
I was looking, Graham, at Florida's, past postseasons under Kevin O'Sullivan. Obviously, Omaha appearances the last few years, and I've noticed too they've lost one of the first 2 games in each of the last 3 regionals, yet still had the depth to force a winner-take-all Monday with victories, and I think 2 of those. If this team were to trip up, whether it be ECU or Coastal or heck even a Fairfield in the winners bracket game in one of those first 2, do you think this team, this iteration of Florida, has the depth to play a 5-game regional if it comes down to it?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Last year, like you said, Florida had the depth to do it. I think they downed Oklahoma State there to get to the super regional, and I think that this team just has consistently shown that they've been able to overcome the odds, but depth is absolutely a question for Florida. They have a lot of guys that they feel confident in, and you've seen some arms recently who we hadn't seen much throughout the year actually step up and have some really good performances. But I think that's a huge question mark for Florida. Are they going to be okay having enough depth, in the bullpen for 5 games? That is a massive question for Florida, which makes the performances of Florida's starting rotation even more critical. Obviously, Kevin O'Sullivan is someone that we shouldn't doubt whatsoever. The guy has so much success in the postseason that I'm not going to doubt him whatsoever. But certainly managing the rotation and making sure that you can, maybe get a guy to throw 30 pitches one game like Jake Clemente and come in as your closer and then still be able to give you some a couple of games later. I think that is going to be key for Florida too, making sure that they can capitalize on everyone that they use, because the depth is certainly a question. I mentioned that they've lost a couple pitchers. They're lefties especially. They really are devoid of lefties right now. And so I think that for Florida, making sure that they have enough depth to get to a 5th game if need be is going to be a huge question for this team. If they get there to a 5th game and we're sitting here talking about, who's going to take the mound for Florida and how are they going to do, because it's someone who in that situation will not have had a ton of experience throughout the season. So really interested to see how that all plays out for Florida, because these injuries, even if they have success in the first couple of games, they just may run out of arms who can get Florida to the finish line here in the regional.
A couple more things with Graham Hall from Swamp 24/7, and we'll get you out of here, Graham. And we kind of touched on it, but look, Omaha appearances the last few years, and this year kind of the injury bug has hit them, but they've finished strong. I think 14-4 SEC regular season finish after the 1-11 start. So, is it still Omaha or bust for Florida fans going into the postseason? Is it even higher than that? Is it a national championship or bust? What's kind of your gauge? What are fans expecting going into the postseason after such kind of a roller coaster of a regular season?
I think these are the lowest expectations that Florida fans have had for a Florida team in recent memory, probably in the last 6-7 years, I could think, because, there's got to be a mentality that do you even feel like you kind of got lucky in a sense to be here in a way. All these injuries, another team would have thrown in the towel. Kevin O'Sullivan 2 months ago was questioning this team's ability to handle adversity. He said this was one of the teams that he's coached in the last 17 years in Gainesville that he felt like did the worst at handling adversity. So the fact that they're even still here, I feel like feels like a blessing, right? And so I think that a lot of Florida fans they're going to have high expectations. I mean, Florida fans always have high expectations. It's not a shot at them. It's just they've been historically good in all 3 of the main sports that I mentioned, that every single year you feel like with the resources and the recruiting and the coaching that you have, that you're going to have a chance to be there when it's all said and done and get to Omaha. And so I think that's obviously the baseline expectation that a lot of people are going to have. And I mentioned that Kevin O'Sullivan, has never missed a regional. And so there's always an expectation to even at least make it that far. But this team, it kind of feels like they're playing with house money in a sense. So I do think that, and that's going to be really interesting to see, because we haven't seen too often a Florida team that isn't playing with the weight of expectation, maybe not crushing them, but being a little bit of a burden in a sense, because when you go through with the preseason expectations and internal expectations and playing for a coach who has, won a national championship and been there and consistently gets to Omaha, that he should probably buy a condo out there, that is a situation where those expectations can hinder your performance, especially with baseball being such a mental game. So I do think that seeing a team that no one really wants to face right now, that has won 6 straight SEC series to end the season, has been consistently counted out, and may have an underdog mentality, which we go back to basketball. That underdog mentality was something that Florida's coaching staff cultivated and used to their advantage. And, they were even in the NCAA tournament making up, taking baby photos of all the guys and like where they came from and how under recruited they were. They used that to their advantage. And I would not be surprised if that is a talking point inside Florida's dugout right now. I think that this is a team that, kind of has played with their backs against the wall and not knowing, feeling like they could not really afford another losing series, or else they were in danger of missing the postseason. So playing without sky-high expectations and feeling counted out and potentially being an underdog, not something we've seen very much. So I do think that's going to be something that this team is going to use to their advantage here, and I'm really interested to see how they fare, even if they don't have the depth in the bullpen to potentially make it through that 5th game, where things could get really interesting here. But back to the question, Florida fans are always going to have sky-high expectations, but the people who have followed this team and know the adversity that they've overcome are probably sitting here right now being like, hey, let's try and see if we can make this run go a little bit farther and see what we can do even without, our entire team healthy.
And lastly for you, Graham, I'm looking at it. Gainesville, according to at least Google Maps, around 6.5 hours away from Conway, South Carolina. Of course, you got Florida fans, I'm sure, up and down the East Coast. ECU is around 3.5 hours from Conway, so I expect a big ECU presence there. Of course, Coastal will have fans. Any gauge on the sense of how many Florida fans may be traveling to this thing? We know SEC fans travel well. Just early thoughts there, potentially, from what you're hearing.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how well they fare because, that Florida, the Gainesville airport, you can fly into Charlotte, but then still you're talking pretty far away, right? So I do think that it's going to be really interesting to see how well Florida fans travel. Like I said, this isn't a team that a lot of people who follow the team are sitting here thinking, oh, we're going to make a deep run to Omaha. They probably have tempered their expectations a little bit, but Florida fans always travel well. Even I keep going back to basketball. They went out to San Antonio for the Final Four. We saw a ton in San Francisco. They're going to be out there, man. They're definitely going to be out there. Now, do I think that they're going to overwhelm the crowd? I don't think so. But you're definitely going to see a strong contingent of Florida fans. They've got a dedicated fan base. And Florida loves to always say the Gator Nation is everywhere. Well, this is the time to show up when the team is in your area. If you're not able to usually make it to Gainesville and now they're coming to you, you kind of expect that they're going to be out there. But with all that said, I do feel like that, they're not going to have the home crowd on their side throughout this entire weekend. Absolutely not. So how they use that to their advantage as well. They've been good on the road recently here. So I do think that there are going to be a good bit of fans there, and I think that they're going to travel. But I don't know. The expectations and maybe this team's ceiling right now, given the injuries and the adversity they faced earlier in the season, is going to maybe make some people sit here and be like, all right, if they make it to Omaha, then I'll break out the budget a little bit and see what happens and go out there and see the team. I would not be surprised if that's the case. But with that said, there's definitely going to be some orange and blue in the stands this weekend.
He is Graham Hall of Swamp 24/7. Graham, we appreciate the time, man. Looking forward to some fun baseball this weekend, but thanks for the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to a great weekend.
Absolutely. Graham Hall. Check out his work on X at Graham Hall, all one word. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. This is Hoist the Colors.
Hey, it's Jim Wells again with Wells Roofing and Gutters here in the beautiful community of Lindale, Bedford. At Wells Roofing and Gutters, we believe in quality first. And that's why we use Certainty shingles, which are manufactured in Oxford, North Carolina, a local company. In the event you ever do have a claim or a problem with your roof system, they're local and they come and take care of us in a timely manner. We could leave off some accessories and we could certainly save money, but we believe at Wells Roofing and Gutters in installing the correct way per manufacturer requirements, and we warranty your roof both in-house and also with our supplier, who is Certainteed. For a job Wells done, no shortcuts taken, and a good quality job on your home, give us a call today, 252-227-8403. We also offer financing, 12 months, no interest, no payments.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked to order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
The Pirates play here. Arr! This is Hoist the Colors Radio with Stephen Igo.
Yes, that was so good.
On 94.3, The Game.
Welcome back into Hoist the Colors on a Thursday edition of the show. We are less than 24 hours away from the Conway Regional getting started. ECU and Florida will play at 12 noon, and then Coastal Carolina, the host, will take on Fairfield in the nightcap, and then the winners of those two games will meet Saturday. The losers will meet Saturday afternoon, followed by the winners bracket game at night. We took a look at Florida earlier in the show. We're going to take an in-depth look now at Coastal Carolina. We have Alan Blondin from the Horry Independent. You can check out his work at myhorrynews.com. Alan, welcome to the show, and how are things down in Conway, the Myrtle Beach area? Pretty buzzing with this regional on the way?
Yeah, for sure. Coastal is a regular in the NCAA tournament, but they very seldom have seasons like this. So, this is as good a season as they've had in the regular season. So everybody's kind of jacked, and they've got the best pitching they've had in probably forever. So that's there's a little excitement around the team for sure.
No doubt. And look, East Carolina hosted Coastal for a 3-game series earlier this year, so I think both teams are familiar with one another. But look, from Coastal's point of view, ECU is used to getting jibbed on these seeding processes as well at times, having hosted over the years. And Coastal was getting a lot of buzz as a potential top 8 seed. So when I saw them on the 13 line, Alan, I was pretty shocked. Just what was the reaction there in Conway to not being a national seed and seemingly not even being all that close to one?
Yeah, I mean, their fan base, their AD spoke out. I mean, the team itself, though, they've kind of tried to not. We did some interviews on, I guess, late Monday afternoon with the coach and 3 of the players, and they were I think they were schooled not to kind of say that they feel they were gypped or this or that. So, yeah, they they're basically just saying they're excited about playing baseball, and it doesn't matter, and whoever they face, and wherever they play. But yeah, I mean, it's clear that they had an RPI of 8. I think their non-conference strength of schedule was 5th. They swept Clemson in the regular season, who's a regional host. They think they lost in extras at North Carolina. They play as many people as they can. They went down to a really competitive preseason tournament. They usually play at home, but they actually traveled to go play 3 really good teams on the road. So yeah, I mean they put and then they went 48-11, won 18 games in a row, 22 straight conference games. I mean they did everything in their power, that was in front of them, basically to get a higher seed. And if it wasn't 8, people figured it might be 9 or 10. But then when they got 13, that was kind of like, what? How did that just happen?
Yeah, it was pretty stunning. And then, as a reward, hey, you get the Florida Gators as the 2 seed, who, look, they've been up and down, but we all know they have as much talent as anybody. And then you also have East Carolina as a pesky 3. Fairfield, not a bad 4, too. So I know they have to focus on Fairfield, but any initial reaction to the draw and the other teams coming to Conway?
Yeah, obviously, Coastal and East Carolina have their thing over the last handful of years where they played quite a bit and even met in the regional. The last time was 2022, I think, at East Carolina, and East Carolina won. Coastal forced the championship game, and then East Carolina won to advance to the Super. But I think everybody's excited about having Florida here. I mean, that's it made 9 of the last 14 College World Series, 17 straight NCAA tournament appearances, and obviously always a national contender. So Coastal did play them. The last time they played was the year Coastal won the NCAA championship in 2016, and Florida that year was ranked number 1 in the country going into the College World Series, and Coastal beat them 2-1 in the opening game of the series. So, Coastal's never, at the level that their program is at now, they don't really ever fear anyone. And, they have the history of already having beaten Florida on the national stage. So I think they're fairly confident that they'll be able to handle whatever comes their way.
You mentioned earlier, Alan, but the pitching for Coastal this year has been phenomenal. And, look, we know Coastal over the years has always been good at baseball. But really, it's more so historically on the back of their offense. And this season, it's been the pitching. Not that the offense has been bad, because it's been good as well. But I remember when they hired Matt Williams, who I just know does an incredible job, has done everywhere he's been as a pitching coach. They had a chance to take a step. But, man, they've got to feel confident, even if they were to lose a game in this regional, just like the pitching depth. They've got 3 frontline starters. They've got a good bullpen. So, did they expect this going into the season, or has all this been a bit of a surprise how well they pitched?
No, they Kevin Schnall, the head coach, obviously taken over for Gary Gilmore for the first year, the year after being in the program for years and years, and even playing for Gary back in the day. He was excited. He even preseason interviews, he talked specifically about pitching staff. So they got 3 guys back that missed the season last year due to injury that were expected to be 3 of their best pitchers. So they missed the entire season last year, came back, and they just added a few pieces as well. And they knew that they were going to be pretty strong. But people have, Jacob Morrison was one of the guys who missed all of last year. Really big, now a redshirt sophomore, throws hard, pounds the strike zone. I mean, he's had a phenomenal year, under 2 ERA, 11-0. And so he was just getting back at the beginning of the season. So he was like a midweek starter. He wasn't even one of their top 3, but then he's recovered and progressed so quickly that he became the number 1, and is not just their number 1. He's one of the best pitchers in the country. So, they actually did expect to be this good. And I can give you a couple numbers that are kind of stunning, but so their ERA is 3.24, which is second only to Northeastern in the country. But what's more impressive is when you look at it compared to what Coastal has had in the last couple of years. So it's actually 2.5 runs better than last year when they made a regional, and it's 3 runs better than it was 2 years ago when they went 42-21. So that just shows you how the team has changed, and it's how much different the team is now. 3 runs a game in an ERA is just ridiculous to be that much better in a 2-year span, and to have, that year they went 42-21, so it wasn't like they were bad. But it's, their offense is kind of complementary to the pitching staff now.
And obviously you've got the guy behind the plate in Caden Bodine, who's one of the best catchers in the country. How much does he get credited for this success as well on the mound? I know, in college, the pitching coach is still calling the pitches the majority of the time, but Caden, phenomenal prospect for the next level. So what type of season has he had, and how much does he get credited for the pitching?
Yeah, I mean, I think credit gets spread around. Obviously, you mentioned Matt Williams, the pitching coach, and how good he is, and and Caden again is one of the greatest, great receptors of the ball in college right now, and throws everybody out. I mean, the guy's a phenomenal player. He's going to be probably a low first-round draft pick, I would assume, a catcher that can hit, run, great defensively. So yeah, obviously, I think Schnall would give him a lot of credit for a lot that's done, and the pitching staff gives him a lot of credit for the way he receives them. So, it's a confluence of factors, but I think it's the talent, the pitching coach, the catcher, but it all combines to make possibly the best pitching staff in the country.
Visit with Alan Blondin, who covers Coastal Carolina for the Oriole Independent. You can check out his news at myorinews.com that he has written about this regional. And Coastal, I know they hosted a few years ago. They fell in that regional after losing to Ryder in the first game. How many of those players are on this team, and do you think they learn anything from that regional at all? Has that been brought up at all?
Yeah, I don't. A lot of the guys are probably not on the. They've got a lot of new players as NIL is, and they've got they've brought in a bunch of new players. A lot of guys, some guys that are older with experience that have been in programs previously. They do definitely have some holdovers from that, but I think it's kind of because it's a new coach, Kevin Schnall has taken over for Gary Gilmore. There's been so much change, new pitching coach. There's been so much change in the program. They're almost separated from anything they've done 2 or 3 years ago. So, I don't think they're really looking at that. I think they're just looking at this season as it is with the team they've got. And again, it's a much different team than they've had in past years.
Springs Brook Stadiums at Vrooman Field will be the obviously the host for the regional. And look, I'm excited to go as a media reporter to cover it. I've heard phenomenal things about the stadium, the atmosphere. For East Carolina fans who are listening, what can they expect from obviously the Coastal Carolina Stadium and the things surrounding Conway, the ballpark, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, no, it's actually Coastal got a new AD this year, Chance Miller, a guy that came over from South Carolina, and he's made a concerted effort to boost up game day activities and things for the fans. So they've added different seating and they've added more concessions and different areas. They try to make fun throughout the ballpark. So yeah, it's they. As much as it's been in the past and just an exciting park where they get a good team to cheer for, they've tried to add some things just to make it more fun for the fans. So, people coming will definitely, I'm sure, enjoy the environment. I would be surprised if it wasn't, if not completely sold out, very close to being sold out. I know all the reserve seating's already been sold. So, it's just regular single game and standing room only type stuff that's available. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun time for 3 days for sure.
Last thing for you, Alan Blondin from myorinews.com. For Coastal to advance and win this home regional, obviously they've had a phenomenal season. Postseason baseball can be different than the regular season, but 18 in a row, 24-3 at home, 48-11 overall. What are the big keys, 2 or 3 things they've got to do this weekend to win this regional, make sure Florida or an East Carolina or even a Fairfield don't upset them and come out of it?
Yeah, well, I think they're obviously, if we talked about their pitching is so solid. They're 3 starters, so they're set as far as that goes. They're not wondering who they're going to throw, or there are no questions about what roles people have out of the bullpen. I mean, they've determined all that throughout the year, and they've gotten good performances from everyone in every role, pretty much. So they know where that's coming. It's basically going to probably be, how many runs can they scratch out? They don't hit a lot of home runs. They're a station-to-station type offense. they led the Sun Belt in sacrifice flies. They lead the nation in hit by pitch. They've got 160. So they just basically try to get on base, try to move guys around, try to knock guys in when they have a chance. So it's a lot of small ball, not big ball, like they predominantly have. And again, the park will yield some homers, so it's possible some other teams will be able to get some big, 3-run homers or something to jump out to some possible leads or at least put some runs on. So I think it's really mostly will Coastal be able to just manufacture as they've done all year. They average 7.5 runs a game, but it's a different way than they've done it in the past. So I think that'll be the key. I think the pitching is going to be there. It's going to be about can they get enough runs across if somebody does, put up a few runs on them.
He is Alan Blondin. Alan, we appreciate the time from MyOryNews.com. You can check out his work on the Conway Regional. Alan, thanks so much.
Yep, thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely looking forward to a great week of baseball at the Conway Regional. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Your roof is a vital part of protecting your home and family from dangerous storms and hurricanes. At Assist Roofing, we install and maintain metal roofing that provides precise protection. Add value to your home while lowering utility costs with a fortified roof to last a lifetime. With 0% financing, grants, and Energy Star Green Roofing tax credit available. Call us to schedule a free consultation so you can weather any storm with confidence.
Make every day electric on the Kawasaki Electro 20 electric balance bike. Maximize the fun with long run times, impressive top speed, and Kawasaki build quality. Easy adjustability and smooth handling make everyday riding more enjoyable. And the standard MTB type tires provide off-pavement capability. The Kawasaki Electro 20 is the electric balance bike that's built to rip. Go to Ron Ayers Motorsports, Memorial Drive north of the airport, Greenville.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's cut in color. And let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
If you are interested in living longer and living stronger, Eastern Physical and Lifestyle Medicine is accepting new patients for a limited time. Finding a caring physician can be a challenge. Dr. Billy Smith is board certified in physical medicine and lifestyle medicine and has been practicing in the area for many years. Call for an appointment now to Eastern Physical and Lifestyle Medicine, 252-364-1108 in Greenville. That number again is 252-364-1108.
Looking for a great deal on a new Nissan?
At Greenville Nissan, we've got a great selection of new Nissans for under $30,000.
The stylish Nissan Sentra, offering top-notch fuel economy. The Nissan Altima, known for its comfort and technology.
The Nissan Kicks, the perfect combination with its compact design and performance. The Nissan Versa, delivering incredible value without compromising on features. And don't forget the Nissan Rogue, an award winner for 10 years in a row. Drive it home just for $22 down and $349 a month.
Visit GreenvilleNissan.com today.
Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227. This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in. Hoist the Colors, final segment here. We got a few minutes left in the show. We got to make our picks for the national championship, which Philip Pilkington, who's producing intern Chris, will join us here in a second to do that, along with our dark horse picks to make it to Omaha. And some breaking news, though, on the football front. We'll save this in-depth discussion for next week because we're short on time. But ECU has announced 6 kickoff times in conjunction with ESPN and the American Athletic Conference. ECU will open the season at NC State. TV designation's also out as well on Thursday, August 28th. 7 p.m. That'll be an ACC network broadcast, so no ESPN, but ACC network at 7. The home opener against Campbell, 6 p.m. on ESPN+. September 13th at Coastal Carolina, 7:30 p.m. late night kickoff in Conway on ESPN+. And then 3 straight Thursday games starting in late September. Army at home on 7:30 on ESPN. At Tulane on October 9th, either 7:30 or 8 on ESPN or the Deuce. And then October 16th, another Thursday game against Tulsa, 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. So we'll have more reaction to that next week, but those 6 kickoff times are out. All right, guys, back in the 94.3 The Game studios, we've got Philip, we've got intern Chris. Chris, you ready for some postseason baseball, man?
Yes, sir. I'm so excited for tomorrow.
Absolutely fired up. We are almost there. All right. So I guess we'll just dive right into it. If we have any time left over, we can get more of Chris's thoughts. But we made our regional picks yesterday. Philip and I did. So let's go. Philip, who do you have your national championship series pick ready to go?
I do. Sorry, Chris. I got your boys going home in the championship. I'm going to piggyback off. I think Braxton had Arkansas over Carolina. That's kind of what I've been thinking most of the week since the bracket came out. So that's what I'm going with.
Arkansas over Carolina. I texted Philip. I said, I bet Chris is picking North Carolina to win the title. We'll see if he follows through. Who you got, Chris?
I'm going to take UNC to win the title, and I'm going to be a little ballsy here. I'm going to take UC Irvine to play in the national championship against UNC.
UC Irvine. I like that pick. Now, we'll get to your dark horse Omaha pick in a minute, too. I don't know if you have that ready, but I guess Irvine would be that pick. I like that a lot. I've got Carolina, and I have I've got Carolina in Omaha. I don't have them making the championship. I've actually got Tennessee taking out Arkansas. I went through the entire bracket in Omaha. On one side, I have Vandy, Florida State, Carolina, and Coastal. On the other side, I have Texas, Georgia, LSU, and Tennessee. I've got Florida State over LSU in the championship. We've got Link Jarrett bringing home championship. They got Jamie Arnold leading the rotation. They've got a really good offense. I think that would be a fun championship game. All right, Omaha, dark horse, Philip.
I got Arizona State, which I think they're in the same region actually as Irvine. But I do think are they in the same? Are they all in the UCLA region?
They are. They are all in that same region.
I think kind of whoever comes out of that one, whether it be the 2 or the 3, like I said, I think the winner of tomorrow's game comes out of the regional, and I think they're my dark horse pick.
I mean, I love that pick because I have the same exact pick. I had no idea you were going to go that route. They're coached by Willie Bloomquist. The thing I like about Arizona State is they are the 3 seed, and the pressure is off them because they broke their regional drought. And, look, they can really hit 318 with, I think, 90 home runs or 84 home runs as a team. And their numbers don't blow you away on the mound, but they have 2 guys who can really strike you out, which is critical in the postseason when the ball flies, obviously, and solid bullpen. All right, Chris, who's your Omaha dark horse, or is it just Irvine?
It's not going to be Irvine. My Omaha dark horse is going to be Northeastern. They pitch very well. Opponents are batting .210 against them, and they have a .292 team ERA. They run the bases very well. They have 192 stolen bases on the year, and they've hit 76 home runs as a team. I think they're one of the most put-together mid-majors, and I really see them making Omaha.
It'd be cool to see Northeastern going to run. They have typically played well, not this well, heading into the postseason. A few comments here. Skip says Florida wins Conway Regional. ECU loses too quick. Let's hope not, Skip, but we'll see. Brady Thomas says he's hyped for tomorrow. Johnny Robertson says after winning the 2016 College World Series, Coastal has not won a regional championship in 5 tries, including 2 as the host. I think this Coastal team much different, though, with the pitching compared to past years. Chris, what are you most looking forward to? We got a couple minutes here as you look around the bracket. Like, is there a regional that really catches your eyes as a college baseball fan? What are you really keeping an eye on this season besides, the Tar Heels and the Pirates?
I think overall the thing I'm most looking forward to is that there's not like an overpowered team this year where you're like, they're going to make Omaha and they're going to win it if they make Omaha. Like, that's the best part is it's so evened out this year. There's so many good mid-majors that it's going to be more competitive than it has been the past 2 years.
It really does feel like even Vandy is the number 1 overall seed. Like, I know last year all the talk about number 1 overall dominant seeds never win, but Tennessee ended up obviously finishing the job and doing a great job. I don't know. Like, I feel like this could be a year it goes wide open. And then again, I have pretty much chalk in Omaha. I think I have all 1 seeds, but I do feel like, Philip, we could see a number 2 or 3 seed make a run to the the semis, if not the title game this year, like Chris has with Irvine.
I think so. Like you said, it's just the SEC doesn't seem as dominant, but also they've been beating up on each other, right? So no one's dominant over themselves, but are they dominant over other conferences? Only time will tell. I think one of the big regions that we'll find out on is the Hattiesburg regional, and seeing how Bama handles both the U tomorrow as well as just the regional as a whole.
Chris, in about 20 seconds, can the Pirates win the Conway regional?
I see a way. I see a way they do it. Florida doesn't hit well against lefties, and Norby, if he starts out well, the only problem is he tends to get shelled at times, and Florida tends to hit the ball pretty far. So I'd be worried for them if, Norby can't go at least 6 tomorrow because we have such a limited bullpen. You got to save your arms for the next 2 to 3 days. That's going to be the most important thing for them to do.
We'll see if the Pirates can get it done. We are out of time. Chris, appreciate you hopping on, man. Enjoy the baseball this weekend. Absolutely. Philip, you enjoy the baseball. Enjoy squeeze play, everybody. There's nothing like squeeze play.
It's going to be I'll be doing that. Be doing the Rose State Championship game. I'll be producing that.
That's right.
So, yeah, I'm excited for it.
A lot of big baseball on the way. Pirate fans out there listening, hope you have enjoyed our coverage all week. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for commenting. Enjoy some Pirate baseball. We'll be back Monday, 12 noon, most likely. We'll talk to you then and break it all down with whatever's happening. See you then.